Welcome aboard. Whether you arrived here by accident or on purpose, just merely woke up and found yourself abducted and taken to this spot, follow the sound of my voice as you enter the world of fishing without bait, a lifetime without definitive expectations, where we explore our lives through full impact mindfulness. The only requirement is the honesty, open mindedness, and willingness to try. If you're welcome nowhere else, you're certainly welcome here. I'm Jim Ellermeyer. I'm a behavioral health therapist. And as always, behind the mic is Mr. Mike himself, my good friend, co-host and co-producer of this program. And as we often promise, we offer an eclectic series of guests. And today I'm joined by a young lady who appeared on our 100th celebration podcast, Dr. Stephanie Hackett. Welcome aboard, Stephanie.
Hi, how are you, Jim? Thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, we asked you here because you've entered into a new phase of life. And quite often, Stephanie, what we suggest to people is that each phase of their life requires a new you. Okay? So let's talk about the new you.
New Stephanie. Well, I am now entering into an endeavor of wellness coaching and more specifically burnout coaching, where I'm helping busy professionals and entrepreneurs ease the signs and symptoms of the dreaded burnout that we often get in corporate America or as an entrepreneur.
Okay, so what would you describe burnout as?
Burnout is that, well, I can give you the kind of some signs and symptoms that maybe you could think, well, I'm under stress, and then we've got that little bit to the extreme of where I was. So maybe you have a little bit of stress or anxiety when you go to the office, or maybe you get the butterflies in your stomach and you're just starting to kind of think, you know, is this really what's making me happy? That could be the beginning of burnout. And then delving into the depths where you're thinking, oh my God, is this all that there is? You're kind of despondent, you're detached from your work, you're detached from your coworkers, maybe even feeling a little hopeless, feeling depressed, kind of just saying to yourself, is this really all there is? The stress has become chronic, the anxiety is chronic, and just kind of feel like you're hitting bottom with no way out.
Well said. Well said. And I have a hunch you swum in this water.
I was swimming, barely keeping my nose above the water, yes.
Well, Stephanie, sometimes in life we kind of refer to that as I bought a ticket to a movie, but I must be in the wrong theater.
Mm-hmm.
As this isn't what I signed up
This
for.
isn't what I signed up for, exactly.
So how do you help people first of all be aware of that?
Well, a lot of times people don't even realize maybe that's how they're feeling and that's what it is that they're feeling. So I start off just telling people what the signs and symptoms of burnout are, maybe presenting some problems that they may have, and people are eventually going, oh, that sounds like me, or that's really hitting a chord with me. And then they start following me a little bit and see that I'm really talking about a lot of the different signs and symptoms of burnout, and they're realizing that what I'm saying is really resonating with them, and then to really teach people then how to get out of one, to recognize and be self-aware enough to recognize when you're being triggered and when your signs and symptoms are being exacerbated, and then teach them the tools and techniques to then counteract that.
So we often suggest to people that they stay in situations not because they're comfortable, because they're familiar.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people are afraid of change, absolutely. And what I like to say about change is you will kind of stay in the place that you are until the pain of staying where you are is greater than the pain of moving forward and changing.
Well, one of the Joker quotes is that if you don't like where you're at, move, you're not a tree.
No.
Okay, those are words, but actually helping somebody do that is a totally different type of story. So we're talking about acceptance. What you're talking about is it sounds like people would come to you and maybe saying, man, and again, I speak 12-step lingo constantly, and everybody out there knows that. The restless, irritable, and discontent feeling.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So describe to me what restless, irritable, and discontent is for you?
Oh, for me now, or for me when I was in
When you were restless, irritable, and
when I
discontent.
was restless, irritable, and discontent. Well, for me, I still tend to get irritable, maybe a little too often. Um, it's just kind of an almost like underlying, almost like a little insect or something that's just kind of underneath the surface, and you just want to like scratch it and let it out. Um, that's kind of that restlessness and irritability that I get sometimes. But honestly, with some of the meditation and kind of practices that I've been on course with lately, I don't get restless, irritable, and discontent too
Cool,
often.
cool. So I liked your descriptor about the insect, and sometimes I refer to it as when the world feels like you're rubbing against sandpaper.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
So when people come to you and they say that, uh, what? Tell me your next steps.
Well, we kind of get, I like to take a future kind of outcome oriented approach to change. So we don't look at why are you feeling that way, what happened. It's really taking that future oriented approach to say, where would you like to be? How do you want to feel? How would you rather feel? What will get you moving toward feeling that way, as opposed to, kind of not really focusing on what happened or what caused it, but just focusing on moving forward.
What sounds like what you're suggesting is, hey, we know what didn't work.
Yep.
We don't need to rehash
Yep.
that.
Absolutely.
So in the 12-step world, what we often say is, we don't care what you've done. What we care is what you're going to do about it.
Yep.
So when somebody comes to you and they say, I'm stuck, what can you do for me?
Well, I'm not going to do anything for you. You have to
Cool.
do the work yourself.
Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing?
I can definitely provide information
Okay.
and accountability and support, but inevitably it's the client that has to do
So
the
you
work.
just can't make everything all right at once?
No, it's a journey.
Your magic wand doesn't work?
No, the batteries have gone dead.
So unfortunately, that's what people expect. We live in a society, in a world where we're constantly bombarded with sights, sounds, and images about what we're supposed to be, and that we're not supposed to experience any discomfort at all.
Well, yeah, I definitely believe that that's what we're fed in the media and magazines and, everywhere, television, everywhere we look. But that's change doesn't happen in the comfort zone. The good stuff doesn't happen in the
Say
comfort
more
zone.
about that comfort zone.
Oh, well, we all like that comfort zone. It's that warm, fuzzy blanket that we have wrapped around us that makes us feel like, we're nice and safe and secure, and we don't need to move. We don't need to make any changes because everything's just nice and familiar and feels nice and safe. And change is something different. Change can be scary because you don't know what's coming up next. Um, Change is very scary because of the unexpectedness of it, I think.
Unexpectedness of it.
Yeah.
That's great. So sometimes we refer to that comfort zone. Sometimes we refer to people as a balloon with an infinite capacity for expansion. And sometimes our job, Stephanie, is to get people frustrated enough so they inflate enough to get against that bonds, that barriers of that comfort zone. So sometimes what we do is help people label and identify what it's not a comfort zone, actually what it is a prison.
Mm. Mm.
So we get people frustrated enough, and I often tell people I'm not running the friendship club. You came to me to help you help yourself get well, and sometimes that's not sitting here and holding your hand and being your friend.
Right, absolutely. I don't tell people, what they want to hear. I tell them what they need to hear.
Okay.
And sometimes that's not always, what they what they want to hear.
Right.
It makes them uncomfortable. It pushes them out of their comfort zone.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't that wonderful? So when did you develop the ability to accept the fact that people are going to get frustrated with you?
Oh, I mean, anytime we've got somebody who's kind of trying to make us change or kind of, nudge us in a different direction, I think they can get frustrated with you. And sometimes I think people take maybe their failures out on their coach as well, thinking that, well, I gave them bad advice or,
Hmm.
something's not working out. And it comes back to, are they doing the work, that needs to be done?
So you describe yourself as a holistic wellness person.
Yep.
So what does holistic mean to you?
Well, holistic means kind of embodying all three of our, the mental, the physical, and the spiritual.
Okay. Okay. So sometimes we refer to people as flowers. Okay. So what are the three things that it takes a flower to bloom?
Well, we need some water, we need some sunshine, and some food.
Planted in good soil, right?
Hmm.
So, and again, I keep going back to the 12 step world. And what we refer to the water is taking care of your physical self. And that's something I'm sure that you're well aware of. And then what we talk about is the sun. We talk, again, 12 step terms, we talk about the sunlight of the spirit, of some type of a spiritual connection with something, whatever that might be. And then when we talk about the environment, we talk about the people, places, and things that you surround yourself with that help you grow or not grow. So
Hmm.
if you take a beautiful blooming flower and transplant it into a sandbox, what happens?
Well, it's probably going to die.
It's going to wither and
Yeah.
die, right? However, some people uh, don't understand that they're sitting in a sandbox.
Ah.
So how do you gently nudge people toward maybe recognizing that?
It's a lot of just asking some powerful questions, getting them to really delve deep into, kind of the inside of themselves. So
Yeah.
asking things like, well, how do you feel about this, or posing a scenario or a metaphor and saying, how does that resonate with you,
Yeah.
and getting them to really explore kind of the inner workings of their mind, explore their feelings. It's amazing the number of people who don't really who aren't connected to their feelings, who
Mm.
aren't really that self-aware.
Say more about that.
Well, I always thought everyone was pretty self-aware because I am. And I've realized through my market research and working with clients that not everybody is that self aware. So I try to take people through some exercises where, we talk about feelings, we talk about things that trigger our emotions, and we talk about um, just different ways to kind of take care of ourselves. And, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. So labeling and identifying thoughts
yep,
and feelings
yep.
incredibly important. My guess is and my hunch is that you also ask people to take ownership of themselves and be understand that most of the problems in people's lives are of their own making.
That's where accountability comes into play.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm. So accountability is a huge part of it, and I don't want everyone out there to think that Stephanie and I are sitting on top of this high mountain, surrounded by blinding white light, telling the rest of the world how to run their lives. Okay, I'm sure that both Stephanie and I paint ourselves with the same brush. Okay, we swim in that water. I was sharing with Stephanie earlier. Someone had contacted me and said, "Jim, how are you?" And I said, "Well, if I would take most of the suggestions that I give to my patients, I'd probably be doing a lot better."
Well, I have been trying to follow the words that I preach and, walk my talk. I have, I put out a 28-day challenge to
Yeah,
my
yeah.
followers and said, I'm going to quit smoking. What are you going to quit or start?
Okay.
And join me for this 28-day journey.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say that I have had more smoke-free days than smoke days,
Isn't
which
that great
is,
when we have others committed with us?
yeah, it's been a wonderful journey. I'm getting to know
Uh,
these women, that we've met just through Facebook
Yeah,
online
yeah.
and forming a community and supporting each other.
Isn't that
And
great?
yeah, it's been really nice. And it's nice to have that accountability, knowing that
Wonderful.
I have to out myself if I have a cigarette, you
Well,
know?
it's hard to suggest something to somebody if you hadn't done it yourself.
Yeah.
How could I possibly suggest skydiving to somebody if I've never done it?
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for
Thanks,
you.
Jim.
That's so you're putting yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so let's talk about this wellness aspect. What what do you start off with?
Well, I really like to start people off with, because we know that they're coming to me because they have some kind of problem and they're looking for some kind of change in their life.
Ah, okay.
Right? Something is not, they're not content with something and they need to change, whether they know it's their
Yeah.
job, maybe it's their
Yeah.
weight, maybe it's their their frame of mind. They realize they've got the wrong frame of mind. So we come to a decision of, what is your goal? What do you want to change? I go through very in depth with goal setting and helping people set goals, determine what goals are achievable.
I like that word.
Yeah, coming up with action plans and really delving deep into what is your why. What is the why, the big reason behind your behavior change?
So, how do you suggest to people that some goal or two may be unrealistic?
Well, I like to not necessarily tell somebody that their goal is unrealistic, but really kind of reframe it into, what are some, how can we break it down into more actionable goals for things that are, I like to have people break down their goals so that they have small successes and frequent successes. So, if you want to be a gymnastics instructor, but you've never actually done a cartwheel, you're not going to just in 6 months probably become a U.S. Olympic, gymnastics coach. You're going to have to go through some baby steps along the way. So we can take that large, seemingly impossible goal and break it into things that are a lot more manageable and shorter time frames,
I
so
like
that
that
you're
term.
getting some successes along the way.
I like that term, reframing. That's
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
you ask them to put it in a different light, and one of the things that we attempt to do is point out blind spots to people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one thing to say hula hoop because it's good for you. It's another thing to say hula hoop because it's good for you, as evidenced by, and here's the reasons that,
Mm-hmm.
here's the benefits that you will achieve.
Yeah.
So, and that, you just can't make those up, or you can. So these people have to have confidence in you.
Yes, they do.
They want somebody who has walked a walk, and they say, well, what do you know about this? What has your experiences been with
Yeah.
this? Okay.
Well, I have a lot of experience from corporate America, so I definitely know what the burnout feels like from that aspect.
So you're aware of that type of pressure and
Mm-hmm.
maybe the impersonableness of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And I think that's where a lot of people get lost in the world. Have you ever, do you get people who feel that they've lost themselves?
Yeah. Occasionally people will admit that.
Well, that has a great deal to do with it, and burnout and
Mm-hmm.
and those type of things, when they're constantly reinforced that they're not good enough, until it becomes that old self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right. Absolutely.
So I read all of your blog, and it was well written. And you talk about visualization, and you talk about positive self-talk. Say more about that.
Well, I'm a huge fan of visualization. I keep a vision board in my kitchen that has affirmations on it, has goals on it. And you can do visualization in that way, or you can just do visualization in your head, where you
Okay.
just spend a few minutes, calm, distraction free, and just envision what you want your life to look like, or even feel how you'd feel when you've reached that goal, and just start to really, even imagine the smells in the air, the things that you're feeling, and
Okay.
really just use your imagination to put yourself in that position of what you want to be accomplished once you've reached that goal that you're setting out for.
And I think that we live in a world of instant gratification and wanting things now. And I think most people don't understand that this is a cumulative type of effect. They just can't do it once and be there. It's not like Dorothy clicking her heels 3 times and saying, there's no place like home, okay?
No.
So there's no magic slippers, there's no clicking. So I often suggest to people, what you're asking me to do is plant a cherry seed and have cherry pie this afternoon. Okay, so how do you help people deal with the frustration that their success is going to be measured in increments?
Well, once you kind of set things up and they get that, the first success, the quick, easy win, it makes it it adds some motivation. So, it's really just let's kind of get the cog turning, and then you'll see that things, start to move and get oiled a little bit. So it's really just setting somebody up for that small win right away.
There you go. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So we have people have achievable goals.
Yep.
And then it's okay to celebrate that success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We should celebrate all our small successes.
So I often say to somebody that if your goal is to lose 10 pounds and after a week you get on a scale, which your scale can be your worst enemy, get on there and you've lost 6 ounces, you can either view that as a failure or can you view that as a good start?
You can definitely view that as a good start. And I have that a terrible relationship with my scale. So that one hits close to home.
Well, scales are not our friend.
No.
Not our friend at all. So I was also into the visualization, the positive self-talk. So how do you lead somebody through a script of positive self-talk? 90% of cognitive behavioral therapy is about changing the language and the way you speak to yourself.
Absolutely. Well, I like to talk to people about the different ways of thinking. There's the black or white thinking, there's the self-deprecating thinking, and getting people to realize what they do and what their downfall is in their negative thinking. And then as soon as we start to recognize that, immediately say something to ourselves and switch it around. So I used to tell myself all the time, and this wasn't that long ago, I'm fat and lazy. Because I didn't want to, I felt like I can't get up and do my yoga like I should, right? I should be doing my yoga 6-7 days a week. And because I'm not doing it today, I'm fat and lazy. Instead of telling myself, I finally had to turn that around and start telling myself, as soon as I said, oh, I'm so fat and lazy, say, I am strong and I am willful.
So how do you get people to help recognizing those self-defeating words and turn those into words like I choose?
Well, I like to get people into journaling and making records and, even just jotting down certain things, not even necessarily in a journal, but on a piece of paper, just carrying it with you and, just starting to recognize, because a lot of these things have been going on in our minds for so long and we don't even realize that it's this constant monologue that's going on and it's negative.
Yeah.
So first it's what are those self-limiting beliefs that we're telling ourselves, and then take note of every time that you hear yourself saying this in the back of your head, what is going on at that time, what's going on in the environment around you, and then because maybe there's a trigger, maybe something is triggering you, so that way you can identify what some of your triggers are. And then kind of say, okay, well, what am I going to say to myself instead?
Okay, so what you're developing is a whole different way of living.
Basically,
yes.
Designed
for living,
Yep.
Okay? So it's not like going to a weight loss center and you think that's going to conquer everything. Or I don't know where this comes from, but I've been having some people telling me about this magic coffee that they've been drinking that makes them lose weight. Are you aware of that?
Oh, I need some of that. That's the quick, easy way, right?
Well, in the 12-step world, we'd call that the easier,
softer way. Yeah.
Right,
Yep.
right. So, but there's a way that it takes action and effort. So people don't want to. They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So when people come to you, how do you determine their willingness to move forward?
Well, there's a few questions I ask, but one of them is how committed are you to doing this right now? And, how willing are you to put forth the effort? How much effort are you willing to put forth? And if they're answering like on a scale of 1 to 10, if they're answering a 7 or below, I'm probably not going to want to work with you, because I want to work with those people who truly want to put the effort forth, who want to make the commitment and invest in themselves.
Your time's worth much, and you don't want to waste it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So in the 12-step road, again, in the chapter called Working with Others, it's suggested that if you approach someone and they're not willing or able to accept or incorporate what you have to offer, then move on to someone else.
Move on. Absolutely.
Yeah, because there's others out there who will accept
Yeah.
that.
And I don't want to see anybody waste their money. I mean, sure, you can go ahead and give me your money, but I want you to get something for it.
Good for
I want
you.
you to get something for the time that we're spending together.
Uh-huh.
I don't want you to feel the way that you feel on day 1 or day 0 of signing up with me. That is not the way I want you to feel on day 90.
So another interesting part that I can connect with is when you talk about vibrations.
Ah.
Say more about that.
Well, I believe that there's energy within us and around us everywhere in the universe. And there's high vibrational energy, there's low vibrational energy, but all energy has a vibration. And if you know anything about the law of attraction, basically what you put out, you attract. So we want to make sure that we move throughout our days and throughout our life with a positive energy so that we attract positive energy.
Right, and so we can generate positive energy. And really what you're talking about is string theory and quantum physics.
Absolutely. Yep.
So what we talk about is when the Buddhists, when they do their mantras and their chants, they're all based on Sanskrit. And it's not necessarily the words, it's the tonation.
Yep.
It's the vibration.
The
of
vibration.
The words.
Yeah.
One of the common is so hum, and I mean the yoga people have taken over that too. So hum, and what it translates into is I am that. Okay, so their thoughts is that all beings are made up of the same energy. If we take all the elements and break them down into the atoms, protons, neutrons, and we break them down into the quarks and whatever, we end up where we're all created of the same type of energy. So their thought is that I am that, which led to their philosophy of the Buddha says do no intentional harm, which means that why would I harm anything intentionally, because it's part of me.
Absolutely. Yeah. We are all interconnected.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm aware that most everything is repackaged buzzwords, and there's nothing really all that new. It just seems all this mindfulness fad that's 10,000 years old.
Yep.
Okay. And our society, this individualistic society we have, everything that works, we seem to figure that we invented it.
Yeah. Mindfulness is a really big buzzword now, and I use it myself. But what else are you going to do? I mean, it's something that I feel that everybody has to learn. So if you're only finding out about it now, so be it.
It's paying attention on purpose.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
It's being in the present moment.
Well, sometimes I'll just say to people, every now and then set your watch, and every half an hour scream to yourself, "Wake up," and that's what it is. So are you finding this fulfilling? Do you feel that you're contributing? Do you feel that you're a part of?
I do. Yeah, I'm finding that through this work, I'm really able to connect with people and help people find solutions to their problems, and it gives me purpose.
Yeah, it gives you purpose.
Yeah.
And I have a hunch that that's what also part of the wellness plan for you with people is for them to find a purpose. Also.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, and again, when we get back to the thought that most people stay in relationships, jobs, whatever, because they're familiar and not comfortable, how do you help people with the courage to change?
Well, I talk people through the stages of change where we're in that pre-contemplation phase, and then we kind of, well, maybe we'll change, and then coming up with a plan. Well, I think I'm going to plan to change. So just working them through, finding out where they are. I mean, some people have no intention of changing, even though they know they have bad habits, whereas other people know they want to change, but they don't really know how. So I'm there to offer that support and help them find creative ways to bring that change into their life in ways that mean something to them as
That
well.
means something to
Yeah.
them. And we can't put our own template of life on other people simply because we like chocolate ice cream and it makes us feel happy. We can't expect everyone else to eat chocolate ice cream and have the same results.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the topics that I go through with people is motivation, helping them find their motivation and what works for them, what's going to keep them moving forward toward that goal that they're aiming at.
Well, that sounds exciting. Do you ever find people actually, when they start to open their eyes up a little bit and get a little bit of light in their eyes, that they actually say, hey, wow?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's fun to see people have those insights into those
Yeah.
aha moments.
Yeah. How is it to have people feel excited about their life again?
Oh, it feels very rewarding. It's
Yeah.
really nice when I've worked somebody through some process and we come out at the end of a session with an action plan or, a list of ideas that we were working toward.
So, when did you feel that you started to get excited about your own life?
When or what?
When?
When? Probably last year, when I separated from corporate America
Okay.
and did a lot of soul searching. Was thinking maybe I would go back to teaching, maybe go back to school. I thought maybe I'd go into counseling, and because I knew I wanted to somehow help people and teach at the same time. And when it finally clicked that coaching was the way for me to do that, it was very exciting. And I just jumped in with both feet. I didn't even bother even thinking through it maybe as much as I should have because it just felt like the right direction. So I
Okay.
just jumped in with both
It
feet.
felt like the right thing to do?
Yep.
Okay. Well, Stephanie, there's a difference between a risk and a gamble. A gamble is when you can lose everything. A risk is something that you can recover from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, my thought is that you have some other people in your life that are supporting you through this.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. My husband.
Okay. Well, tell about a husband when his wife comes home and says, "Hey, guess what? I'm reversing course."
Oh, my husband has been very supportive of me during this transition.
Yeah.
It has been wonderful. It's nice to know that I have the liberty to kind of follow my dream and follow my own creative course.
So what you're saying is this person gives you the freedom to decide.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you believe that this person understands you?
I do.
Do you believe this person listens to you?
Most of the time.
Okay. Do you believe this person respects you?
Yes.
Do you believe this person gives you the benefit of the doubt?
Yes.
Okay. So those are core emotional concerns. And if somebody isn't giving you those type of things, give me a reason that those people are in your life. This is what I'm talking about, the people you place around you.
Yeah. Well, these people could be your employer. They could be your neighbors. I mean, there's a lot of people, in any area of our life that could be a non-supportive person that we kind of have to have to be around if we so choose.
I like that word also.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to be around that negative Nancy boss if you just find yourself a new job.
So what you're saying is the things that you worked in your own life, you're showing to other people.
Oh, absolutely. And that's really what I'm going by is, I'm teaching the things that worked for me. These are the
Ah.
tools, the tips, the techniques that I use on a daily basis or that I have used to get myself out of, a position where you might be as well.
So if you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. At some of these steps we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way. But we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start.
Yeah.
So Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. So we're all in recovery from something.
We are all in
we not?
recovery from something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you help people understand that they don't have to go on this journey by themselves?
Yeah, I like to say that I'm certainly there to be your biggest cheerleader, but I will be hard on you as well. Like
I hope so.
I'm not gonna let you get away with your BS.
Well, you set goals and commitments and challenges,
Yeah, yep.
and not unrealistic, of course. So if someone would say, hey, I really like what Stephanie has, and I'd like to maybe talk to her a little bit more, how would one contact you?
Sure. Well, my email address is Stephanie at embody360wellness.com. My website is www.embody360wellness.com. Or if it's the only thing you remember from tonight, you can go to theburnoutdoctor.com.
The Burnout Doctor.
The Burnout Doctor.
Wow, isn't that cool? Okay, well, that's great. So we certainly lovely. Stephanie was here with us this evening, and as a disclaimer, some transparency, Stephanie and I have been friends since before yesterday, and at the end of every podcast, we offer a free prescription, and that's fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Unplug your television and take up fishing. And for a truly mindful experience, we suggest that you fish without bait. Forgive yourself, forgive another. Do a kindness for yourself. Do a kindness for yourself and do a kindness for another. Till all are free, none are free. Namaste.